Okay. Yesterday we have seen how to work with the Hibernate, and we have seen how to insert a data from the data means to your database using Hibernate. Okay. If you have to do this, there are certain steps which we have followed. Let's quickly recap what we have done. So what is the first step that we have to do? We need to create a database, okay, of which table you want to work with. You just have to be keeping it. Then the second step is you need to be creating a class corresponding to your table. So if in case a mapping should happen for your class to your table, then what I should do? Annotations. Which are the annotations? Entity means it is corresponding to one table available inside your database. Next, table means which table it is representing. You need to make use of table and use that annotations. Next, column means each particular attribute represent one column inside your database. So I need to make use of annotation at the right column. One more, id means it represents a primary key. So these are the annotations which we have seen. Next, a class which we have created. Next, what we have done? Yes, we have created one XML file. What is the name of the XML file? Hibernate.cfg.xml file. And inside this, what we have done? Hibernate configuration file, inside which we have 5 property tags which we have made use of. What is the first property tag? Driver class. Next one, URL. Next, username. Next, password. Next, dialect. So which MySQL or DB2, what is that dialect you are working with, you need to mention. And along with that, one more we have seen. What is that? Show SQL means whatever the internally Hibernate is writing a query, we were asking it to show. Okay. Next, to start off with, what is the first step that we have done? Load the object creation of your configuration. Next, load the configuration file by making use of or by calling a method called as configure. Next, yes, which annotator class you are working with, you need to mention. If you are working with right now only one class, you need to load only one class. If you are working with multiple different class, you need to load all the classes. So right now we were working with one class, so add annotated class and we have mentioned the class name. Next, yes, you have called build a session factory and it will give you a session factory object. Okay. So using session factory object, what you have done? You need to call a open session method which will give you a session object, and this session object will help you to perform all the CRUD operations. Okay. So next, what you have done? Yes, you need to call a method called as begin transaction. If in case you have started beginning transaction, that is when you can call a method called as commit, which will help you to perform or permanently reflect the database, means whatever the query that you have written, it will get reflected into the data. All these things is something which we have discussed in the last session. So today let's perform the CRUD operations basically. So we have seen inserting a data, we'll see how to retrieve it, one data or multiple data, how to update one data or multiple data and delete one data and multiple data. All these CRUD operation, if you know how to work with, that's all about Hibernate, because Hibernate is also like what is that you used to do it in JDBC can be done in Hibernate, but it is not necessary for you to write the queries. Okay. So let's see how to do this. Now let's see how to get one record from a database. Before to that, let me just insert few more record inside your database. Okay. So I'll just go back to your workbench. Let me just remove this. Okay. Okay, let me go to this workbench. So it was Hibernate which we are working with. Okay, this was the case. I'll just few more records I'll insert over here. So 3, I'll say it as Andy at gmail.com, and I'll give it as HR. Next, 4th, I'll give it as Kelly. Next, Kelly at gmail.com, and I'll give it as again IT itself. Okay, 4 records I have inserted. Let's click on apply. apply and finish. So now if I were to execute, so these are the 4 records we will have. Okay. Now the first expectation I have, I want to get one record from your database. Which record, if you ask me? Whoever ID is 2, that particular record I want to get it. I hope it is clear for everybody. So if in case you want to get this particular record, whoever ID is equal to 2. What is the query that we used to write it? Select star from employee where ID equal to 2. Now this query, it is not necessary for me to write it. Hibernate will write a query. We just have to call one method called as get method. I just have to call method called as get method. But this get method accepts 2 parameters. What is the parameter it accepts means? The first parameter it accepts is your class name. Why class name, if you ask me? Because which table it has to deal with, that is something which you need to pass over here. The second parameter it is accepting is your primary key value. The second parameter it is accepting is primary key value. So over here I am passing your ID equal to 2. I hope it is clear for everybody. And what it returns is the employee object it will be returning. The employee object. You have passed employee class, it will be returning you an object, one employee object it will be returning, E, which is of type employee. I hope it is clear, because I told you one record is equivalent to one particular object inside your data Java. That's why whenever you try extracting by calling get method, I should say it as session.get. If I just call this method, it will return you one employee object. Is it clear? So that is how the query will be. So you can see over here with one line you will be able to extract or read the data from the database. Now if I just take you back, I'll create one more class actually. So I'll say it as program 2. Let's quickly write all those things. What is the first step I need to do? New configuration. So I'll just get a config object. Okay, next config.configure. So I just have to call this configure method. I'll get this and I'll name it as config1. Okay, next config1.add annotated class, and over here I need to mention the class name, which is employee.class. Okay, now whatever it returns I'll collect it, which I'll name it as config2. Next config2.build session factory, and whatever it returns I'll collect it, I'll name it as SF. Okay, before I proceed I just want to do certain modification over here. Just observe what is that. So over here you tell me what do you mean by config2. It is nothing but config1.add annotated class, correct or no? So whatever it returns we have collected inside your config2, correct? So instead of config2, can I say config1.add annotated class? It means the same itself. So what I'll be doing, instead of writing it as config2, I'll just copy this part and I'll paste it over here. Any confusions in this? I'll just bring this down. Okay. Now I don't want this line. Anyways, I have stored it over here. Now again, config1 in the sense what we are doing? Config.configure. So instead of config1, directly I can say it as config.configure, correct or not? Why I am saying this? You yesterday have printed this and said this config1, config2 are pointing to the same object. When I printed the object reference, it was printing you the same value. I hope you guys know. And also I told you it was following singleton design pattern internally also. Okay, you try creating n number of different objects, it will always create you one object and it will be returning you. Okay, so if you don't know about the singleton design pattern, I'll just take it one class and I'll let you know about it also. Okay, but this is a design pattern which is followed. So instead of config1, I'll just copy this and I'll paste it over here and I'll remove this part. So I'll just bring this in the new line. Again, instead of config, can I directly say it as new configuration? Yes. So, I will copy this and I will paste it. Semicolon, I will just remove this, I will paste it and I will remove this. So, I will just write all these things in a one line. You can write like this also, because config, config 1, config 2 are all pointing to the same object reference, that is why I have written this. Okay. If you want, you can write that way, if you want, you can write this way, both will work. Okay. Next, using session factory, what I should call? Open session, and I need to get the session object. I hope it is clear. Next, what I should be doing over here? I want to get, but before to that, I told you, whenever you want to do the transaction, you need to call you need to get a transaction object. So first, let me get that session dot begin transaction. I'll get this transaction object. Okay, and using this transaction object, I'll call a method called as commit. When you are getting it, it was not required actually, but still every setup is being done, so that any Hibernate code you are writing, you just do all this setup. Then it's all about your logic part. Now I'll come to my logic. What I want to get a one particular employee object or one row from your database. So what I'll be doing, using session, I'll call method called as get method. And what it accepts, what is the first parameter I need to pass? A class name. So over here I'll be saying it as employee dot class. What is the second parameter I need to pass over here? ID. What is the ID I'll be passing over here is 2. Okay. Whatever it returns, I will collect it. I told you what it returns, you an employee object it returns, where I will collect it over here. You can clearly see what is the type it is giving, an employee itself. And now if I were to execute this code, print the value of employee. So it should print the details of employee whoever ID is 2. Okay. Now if I were to execute, can you see over here? It is first writing a query, select ID, department, all those details, where ID equal to question mark it is saying, again a prepared statement, and below is the details of it. Why you are getting in this particular order? We have overridden toString method, if you guys remember, so that whenever you print a object reference also, you are getting this particular value. Okay. So in one of the class I have told you, whenever you override toString method, then what happens, if you create a object of any particular class, how you have written inside your toString method, in the same format you will get an output also. That is why you are getting in this particular format. If you want, you can change the format also. Okay. So now this is about you getting one record from your database. Now I have expectation. What is that if you ask me? I want to get the data from the database, means one employee data I want to get it. Whoever name equal to Kelly, I want to get the details. What can I do? Get? No. Now you tell me, get method accepts 2 parameter I said. One is a class name. What is the one more value? Primary key I told you. Means this get method will work whenever you want to extract one record, and that too using your primary key value you want to extract. That is when this get method will work, and rest every other places it will not work. If you want to get all the records, it will not give you, because I need to pass a primary key for this. Then in this situation, what exactly this Hibernate is giving you? Hibernate is giving you an option. If you want, you can write your own queries. If you want, you can write your own queries. That is when the concept of HQL comes into picture. The concept of HQL comes into picture. HQL in the sense Hibernate Query Language we will be calling it as. Okay. So using HQL, if in case the get method is not doing work, then you can write your query and you can work with this. I hope it is clear for you. Let's see how can I write my own query and how can I get this particular employee, whoever name is Kelly or any other value it can be. Is it clear? So let me just go back. So now you tell me, so in the database, whatever, I want to extract a data, whoever name is Andy. So what is the query you will be writing? Select star from employee, okay, where, okay, name equal to Andy. This is your SQL query which you will be writing. Correct or not? Now, when it comes to HQL query, how exactly it should be there? It is almost the same, but few changes has to be done. First of all, tell me, in your SQL query, what is this employee? It is a table name. What is this name? Column name. But when it comes to HQL query, how exactly you should be writing is, if in case you want to read all the data, you directly start from. If you want, you can write select star. If you don't write also, it will read all the data. Okay. From, and whatever you are writing, this employee is referring to your class name, not a table name. It is referring to your class name. Then where name equal to, I'll mention it as Andy. This name is referring to your instance variable that is available inside your class. Okay. So how you have mentioned an instance variable name, the same way you need to be mentioning. So this is your class name, this is your table name, this is your column name, but over here this is your instance variable name. This is the difference between your SQL query and HQL query. Okay. Clear for everybody? So how can I write a query? Directly can I write up a query like how you used to write in a servlets, all the places? If you ask me, no. I cannot write a queries directly. Whenever you want to write your HQL queries, there is certain steps I need to be following. There is one method available which I need to be following. What is the method if you ask me? Whenever you want to write your own query, then I need to call a method, the method name only, using session, I need to be calling a method called as create query. I need to be calling a method called as create query, and inside this particular method I can pass this particular query. Whatever the query that you want to pass it, you can pass it over here. And how to pass this? It has to be considered as string. Now if you pass this, it will be returning one value of type query. It is returning of value of type query now. So it is returning you can, so if in case I just resize this, it will be returning you of type query. Now you can execute this query. How exactly if you ask me? Right now I am not using primary key value. Primary key value if I am not using, is there any chances duplicate values can be present? Yes, Andy, there are multiple Andys you can present it, correct or no? So this query I need to execute. How can you execute means, is there any chances it will return you multiple records? Multiple records, is there chances is there, because if multiple Andys are there, multiple records you will be getting. So how you can get if you ask me, using query, I need to call one method. The method name only is called as a get result list. I need to call get result list. Why get result list means there are chances you will have multiple records. So I want to consider it as a list of records that it is giving you, or list of employee objects it is returning you. So it is returning you a list of object. I hope it is clear for everyone. So now you have list of employee object. Using a loop you can process this particular list. Everybody know how to process the list, right? Same thing I need to make use of. I hope these two things are clear for everybody. This is when without using primary key you want to extract any data, this is how you need to be doing. I hope it is clear for everybody. No confusion. Let's go back and do this and check will it work for all the inputs or not. Okay. Let me take you back. I'll comment this. I'll just say it as next session dot, what I should be calling it as? Create query I need to pass. And inside this what I should be passing? A query. So I'll be saying from what? Employee. A class name I am referring. So I'll say it as an employee. Okay. Next, where name equal to Andy. But over here name, which name it has to refer to? I need to tell. Employee's name I want to refer to, because now we are dealing with one class, but when it comes to real time scenario you will not be working with one class. There will be n number of different classes will be there. So which you need to be dealing. Maybe there is a department class separate will be there. There is a project class separate will be there. Like this, how tables are structured, in the same way you will be having a classes. So how I can refer it if you ask me? You know the concept of aliasing in SQL. Aliasing means how you will be doing? Employee, as you used to give one more name for it. I can make use of aliasing concept. I can directly say employee dot name, or you can make use of aliasing. Okay, I'll make use of aliasing over. How I'll make use of? Employee and E I'll be saying. As it is not necessary, you know already about it. If you directly write also, it will be doing the aliasing. So I'm making use of E. Then I'll say it as E dot name. I hope it is clear. And now I'll get this particular value. So where it is giving you a query. Now using this query, I'll call one method. What is the method I'll call? Get result list. Whatever it returns, I'll collect it. So which I'll name it as list. Now I'll just print a list first. Then we'll see how to process it. Okay. So outside this, I'll just print this particular list. Okay. Let's execute this much now. If I were to execute, you can clearly see select query has been written, and at the end you can clearly see a list is being written where only one particular employee is available whose name is Andy. That's why one data you got it. And the query is also, you can clearly see from employee where name equal to Andy. I hope it is clear for everyone. Now I'll just change the name. I'll change it to Bob. Multiple Bobs are there in our record. Now if I were to execute, you can clearly see ID with 1 also is a Bob, ID with 2 also is a Bob that is available. Any confusions in this part? Clear for everybody? Okay. This is how you can write your own query. Now if I ask you, I want to extract such employees, whoever is working in IT department, then what I should do? What is that I need to be doing? What is the changes has to be done over here? Yes, only the where condition is going to be changing. What is the condition? A department name should be equal to IT. Department name equal to HR. What is the department that you are expecting? You can specify it over here. I hope it is clear. If I just change that also and show you, E dot what is the name that we have given? Instance variable name? DEPT we have given. Okay. And I'll give it as IT. So whoever is working in IT department, all those lists you need to extract. And now if I were to execute, you can clearly see ID equal to 1, ID equal to 2, ID 4, ID 3 is working in HR department. So which you didn't get, all other record you want. Now the format is, because you have just printed list. If you want each record coming in one line, what you have to make use of? You need to make use of for each loop, so that it will print each record in a new line. If I just make use of the same thing, I'll say for, what is the first thing I need to specify over here? List. So over here I need to take each one value and I need to store it in a variable L I will be taking. And what is the data type of it? Employee, sure. I'll write it as employee. It is giving you error. Why? Because if you remember, I told you we can specify the data types. In your collection concept you have learnt it. Whenever you are making use of array list, linked list, any of this, you can define the data types. Like in the angular braces you used to define it, correct or no? If you don't define, it will take a heterogeneous kind of data. Now whatever it is returning you, it is like an object it is returning you. It is returning you multiple different objects. Have I specified in the angular braces it is an employee? If I have specified, then it will work. But I did not specify, means by default it is considered as object. Means instead of employee I should be specifying it as object. Okay. If you want it to be considered as employee, over here you specify, I want it to be considered as employee. Now error gone. If in case it is not object, you need to specify. I hope it is clear. Now if in case I just go over here and print it, it will print all the employees, and now if I wait to execute this code, you can clearly see it is printed in the new line. However you want, you can print it. Okay. So all these things will going to be helpful for you when you want to send the record inside to your front end. Now in the Hibernate we will just deal with the database. When it comes to Spring, we will include the, it's like similar to the servlet, front end also comes into picture. That time you should be knowing, from here you need to send it to the database, sorry, front end. Is it clear for everybody? Okay. Now how to retrieve and how to insert, these two operation is done. What is the next left out things? Update, delete, these are the two operations. Let us see how to do that. Now, so I will go back. Now I want to update. What is that I want to update is, I want to update the email ID. Whoever ID equal to 1, those particular employee IDs, whoever ID equal to 1, so ID equal to 1, this email ID I want to change it now. Email ID you want to change it. Then what is the query that you will be writing? What is the query first? Update, okay, employee, okay, set email ID equal to whatever you want to specify, okay, that email ID. Next, where ID equal to 1, whatever the ID you want to go. Okay. This is the query that you used to write it inside your SQL now. Now how can I do it in the Hibernate? Now you tell me. There will be multiple different objects available, because I told you when it comes to Java it is about the objects where the data is getting stored, and each row is corresponding to one record inside your data. Now there are multiple objects available. So I am just showing you the same thing. This is the object. So over here it is E1, E2, E3, like this it will keep going on. And inside each object you have ID, name, email, all these things will be there. Now if you want to change any of this email ID, okay, of any object, what is the first step you want? Normal Java, think about it. First, don't you think which objects you want to change it, you should be knowing, correct? Which objects email ID you want to change it, you should be knowing, okay? After which, how you will be changing the values? Because these are private numbers, how you will be changing the values? Using setters you will be changing the values, correct or no? Now the same scenario over here. The first step you should be knowing is which particular record you want to change it. Means which object's value you want to change it, that you should be knowing. How you will be getting which object's data you need to change? Using your primary key value, can you identify which particular record's data you want to change it? So first I need to get a information about which object's data I need to be changing. Now you tell me, if you know the primary key value, which is nothing but your ID value, can you extract the object? How? Huh? Get method is already available, correct or not? So when I know the primary key value, what I'll be doing is I'll be calling session dot get method, and I'll call class name I'll be passing, and also I can pass the primary key value. I'll get your employee object, correct? Now you got access for which object you want to change it, correct or no? Next, how can you change it? emp dot in Java object access, you got it. How you will be doing it? Set email ID is available, correct or not? Now emp dot set email you will be calling it as. Now you will pass the new email ID that you want to set. So what happens? The object that you have received, for which you have given it as emp, in that email ID whatever is there, that will get updated with this particular new email ID. I hope it is clear for everybody. Now this new email ID available inside this particular object, the same changes should happen to your database also, correct or not? Now what you need to call, this is when update method you need to call. How can you call this particular method? Using session, I can call this particular update method, and for this update method you need to pass an object which has to be updated. Which object I want to update? emp. So you need to pass this emp object. I hope it is clear. And if you do these 3 steps, then this particular email ID whatever is there, that changes will happen to your database, that updation will happen to your database. Is it clear for everybody? This is how the updation you need to do. Let's go back and do this and check will it work or not. Okay. If I just go back, I'll just comment this part. What is the first step I need to do? Using session, I need to call a method called as get. What is the first parameter in this? Class name. So I should be saying employee dot class, and over here I need to pass a primary key value. I'll get the reference which is a E. Next I should be calling, using this object reference, I need to call a method called as set email. And what is the email I want to pass it? I can pass it over here. I'll be saying it as bob123@gmail.com. This is the email ID which I want to set. Now setter has been done. Next what I need to call? Yes, using session I need to call a method called as update, and I am passing E for it. Okay. And now if I wait to execute your code, you can clearly see first select query is executed because we have called method called as get whoever ID equal to 1. Then it is calling your update query. And observe the update query, it is updating all the values. It is not updating one value because it will not have a information of which value we have changed it. So what happens? It will update all the values. I hope it is clear. Let's go to the database and check is it really reflected or not. Okay. Let me take you back. Now you can clearly see with ID 1 what is the email ID? bob@gmail.com. And now if I wait to execute your query, can you see the changes over here? So this is how you can make use of an update statement. Now you tell me, if in case my expectation was you need to update email ID itself, usually it will not be, but I am telling you about it. Okay, usually salary like this updation. As of now we don't have a salary column. So the requirement is I want to update the email IDs of such employees whoever is working in IT department. What I should do? Means can I make use of get method and do this? No, I cannot do it because get method accepts only the primary key as a parameter. So whenever you want to update any value not based on your primary key value, then I cannot make use of a get method and do this operation. That is when create query comes into picture. Okay. So let's go back and see how exactly we can do this. So now over here, what is the query? SQL query we used to write it. First tell me that. Update employee, okay, set email ID. So as of now I will just say it as it@gmail.com. Because if I add one column again I need to change this in the classes everything, that is why I am doing this. Okay. Then where department equal to IT. This is your SQL query, you will be writing it. But when it comes to HQL, what are the changes that you will be having? Everything is same, only changes will be your, this should be considered as a class name, email ID should be considered as one instance variable, department also should be considered as instance variable, but the query is going to be same itself. I hope it is clear. Okay. Now this, if I were to consider it as query, now how can you call this particular like how can you execute your own query inside your Hibernate? I need to call a method called as create query. So session dot, I need to call a method called as create query, and for that whatever the query is there that I need to be passing, so I will just pass a query over here, and it is going to be returning you a query object. Now what is a method I need to be calling? No, get result is to get all the records and you are printing it. Are we printing any records over here? Update means changes will happen to your database. It is not going to return any value for you in this case, and you are right now updation is not happening for one record, it will be happening for multiple different records. In this cases you need to call a method called as execute update. I need to call a method called as execute update, and this execute update method will not accept any parameter. It will update all the records and it will be getting reflected to your database only. Is it clear for everyone? This is how you can execute or you can update multiple records present inside your database. And query, this is one example. Like this you can execute n number of different queries of your choice. Whatever you used to do it using SQL can be done over here also. Clear? Let us go to the database and do this and check will it work or not. Okay. Now if I just go back, okay, over here what I can do is I will just comment this part. Okay. First step, what I should do? Session dot create query, I should be calling it. Now I need to be writing a query. Update employee, I will do the aliasing also. Next, set e.email equal to, what is the email I want to do is it@gmail.com, which I want to change it. Okay. Next, where e.department equal to IT. Okay. Now I will just fetch it and I will be giving it as Q. Now using this I need to be calling a method called as execute update, and what it returns? Update method also I did not ask you. What it returns? Integer value. What it indicates? Number of rows got updated. I hope you guys remember in the JDBC also we have done the same thing over here. I will just get this value which is nothing but I, and now I will just print this I value. Okay. I will just execute this. Can you see over here? Update query is there along with what it is saying? 3 means 3 number of rows got updated. Okay. Let us go to the database and see is it really happened or not. Okay. If I just go back, I will execute your query. Can you see? first, second and the last Gmail ID is being changed to it@gmail.com. Is it clear for everybody? So, updation is also clear. What is one more last left out? Delete. So, if you have understood till here, the next thing you should be able to answer, okay. Let us see. I want to delete the records whoever ID is 3. Whoever ID is 3, I want to delete a record. How can I do it? Session dot delete. For delete, what I should pass? Okay. First, I need to get which employee object you want to delete. Which employee object you want to delete? Whoever ID equal to 1. How can I get employee object? Get method is available, using which I can get it. So, using session, I need to call one method called as get, and which accept employee class name, comma, and the primary key value, and it will give you a employee object. Now what I should be calling is your delete method, and delete method will accept one parameter which is nothing but a which object you want to delete, that I need to be passing. Okay. So, using session, I need to be calling a method called as delete, and for this I need to be passing which employee object I want to. Which employee object? Whatever is the E, that is the employee object you want to delete, you can pass it. And if you do this much, it will be able to delete the employee whoever ID equal to 1. Is it clear for everybody? So, this is how you can perform the delete operation. Let us go back to the database and do this and check with this. Okay. So, if I just go back, I will change this. So, first thing is I will say session dot get, and I need to pass class name, which I will name it as employee dot class, and I need to pass a primary key value which I will give it as 2, and it will return you an employee object. Okay. Next, what I should call is session dot delete, and I need to be deleting this employee. What it returns? Integer value. So, as of now, in this case, in Hibernate it is not returning any value, okay, but when it comes to JDBC it was returning you value. Let us execute. Select query to get an employee object. Next, it is a delete query, and now if I were to take you back and re-execute your code, you can clearly see whoever ID equal to 2, that record got deleted. Okay. Clear for everybody about deleting one record. Now, if in case I want to delete the record whoever is working in IT department, then I need to make use of create query, because based on a primary key I am not deleting, means obviously a create query I need to. Let us go back and do this. Okay. So, query delete from employee where department equal to IT. This is again, this is a query. So, I need to pass it inside your create query. So, what I will be doing is I will just call a method called as create query using your session object. It will give you a query. Next, what I should do? Next, I should be calling a method called as execute update. I need to call a method called as execute update. When we call this execute update previously, whenever you want to update multiple records, we call this execute update. Whenever you want to delete multiple records also, now also execute update only you need to be making use of. Okay. So, it will be returning you an integer value which represent how many records got deleted. Okay. Let us go back, do this much and check will it work or not. Okay. if I just go back, I'll go over here, I'll just comment this. So I'll say string query equal to, okay. Over here, what I'll be saying it over here is delete from employee, aliasing also I'll do. Next, where e dot department equal to IT, okay, and whatever it returns. So I'll just, next I need to session dot create query, and I need to pass this particular query which I have written, and whatever it returns I'll collect it, I'll name it as queue. Next I need to call method called as queue dot execute update, and what it returns is your number of rows got deleted. So I'll just, whatever it returns I'll collect it and I'll print this, okay. And now if I wait to execute, how many number of 2, because there were 2 employees who were working in IT department, those 2 records got deleted. And if I just go back, you can clearly see the 2 records got deleted. Is it clear? For this is about you performing the CRUD operations with using your Hibernate, and you can clearly see JDBC was easy, Hibernate was easy. Hibernate, first time if you set up everything, rest all the things is about 2 to 3 lines of code you have written, because internally Hibernate is writing all the code. That's why we told frameworks will reduce the developer's time and effort. The same thing in the Spring also you will be learning, where whatever you used to do it in the servlet will get reduced over there with again 2 to 3 lines of code, because starting setup is something which you need to take care of. Rest everything is about a small amount of code which you will be writing it. I hope it is clear for everybody. So that is all about Hibernate. If you ask me that's all about Hibernate means no, there is few more concept which is available in Hibernate, because right now how many tables you were dealing with? 1 table. But is it like when you are learning with SQL only 1 table you were dealing with? No, multiple tables were there were relationship between multiple tables, 1 to 1, 1 to many, many to 1, correct or not? So if in case there is a relation between these 2 tables means, I told you if in case 2 tables are there, 2 classes should be there. If there is a relationship between tables, there should be a relationship that you need to generate in the classes also. That is when 1 to 1, 1 to many, many to 1, there is a annotations which you will come across, join, there is a few more annotations which you will come across. That we are not going to be learning over here. Why, if you ask me, those things if you want to learn it's available in LMS, but live we are not going, because as a fresher this is the concept which you need to know. These are the basics things if you know in Hibernate, that's very much enough for you to get into IT. Okay. So extra thing, those concepts will be asked for such particular means interviewers who have 3 years of experience, more than 2 to 3 years of experience. For them they will ask this question. That is why we are not teaching it, but for a fresher this much is enough if you know in Hibernate. Okay. That's why I am stopping Hibernate over here. Okay. Next what we are doing is, next we are going to be doing a project before I start with a Spring. It is like one major project only which we are going to. On top of it, just a modification, Spring will add it and will make this particular project using Spring also. Is it clear for everybody? So not today, because if I start it is going to be incompleted. Okay. Starting from Monday onwards we will be doing the projects, and over here in the class itself we will do it. You guys also will be doing, I will be also doing it. And the project is food delivery applications which we are going to be doing, a web application. Okay. So before you come to the Monday session, please just go through your servlet concept, because servlet concept we will be using. Okay. JDBC concept, JDBC means same Hibernate concept which you will be making it. So JDBC servlet, just quickly revise and come, because all those things I will be doing over there is about the same thing. Okay. So nothing extra will be there over there, but using Maven project you will be doing. If you want, you can do it using servlet also, that also will work. Okay. So, normal, because I am not using any framework or I am not using any of the framework, just a servlet, but a project which we will be dealing. Okay. So, do not miss on the class. So, be on time, because it takes time, extended time it will be, because now 1 hour class we are taking it, that time it might extend, because we will go step by step itself. On the same day we have to complete, means you need to sit over here, complete it and then go back. Going back, I do not want you to involve in the project. Over here only you will be completing with the project. Clear? So, that is it for today. Whatever is being done, the CRUD operation, sit over here, complete it and then you can leave for the day. Okay? So, start typing.